Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jim Dantona, CEO for the San Luis Obispo Chamber of Commerce, and your host today. During COVID, we launched a program called Working Lunch that's connected you with our business community. With all the changes that 2022 has brought us, this is just one more change we can add on. The Chamber is bringing a more direct partnership with KCBX, and we're going in studio to bring you a new form of the Working Lunch. Each month, we'll sit down and talk with a member of our business community to talk about doing business on the Central Coast. We hope you'll join us for these conversations every month on issues and ideas. Today, I'm so pleased to be sitting down with LeBren Harris. Hi, LeBren. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, LeBren is not only the Director of Sales for Hampton Inn and Suites and the new Town Place Suites Hotel, both of them on Calle Joaquin there in the city of SLO, but our 2022 board chair for the SLO Chamber and the SLO City Tourism Business Improvement District board member. So you have a lot on your plate, and I know you have a very active family. How do you do that?
Well, kind of like everybody else, you just jump in and you just do what you have to do. My family is very active in this community, not just on the playground, but we both, my entire family, we have so much that we want to give back to this community and to help further progress this community. So it's an important thing in our household to make sure that we do keep San Luis Obispo at the center and top of our minds when we are involved in organizations, when we're volunteering, when we're out in the school segment, and we enjoy it. We love this community. We're here for a reason. We stayed for a reason.
Well, and we over at the Chamber have seen your girls in tow with you at city meetings, at Chamber events. Is that something, again, like you were talking about, part of the family ideal, or part of the problem, one of the tough things of working on the Central Coast here, with not having childcare and all the other parts of being a working mom?
You know, we take that, we take all of that, everything you just said, we take it all and put it all in one. It is tough being a working parent here on the Central Coast. My family and I, we are so blessed to be able to have the support that we have by in-laws, grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins that help us at any point. But my husband and I also see the value in making sure our kids are involved to a certain extent, because seeing it at an early age helps cultivate them and encourages them and shows them later on, once they are grown, whether they're here in San Luis Obispo or not, that it's important to get involved, it's important to stay involved, and it's important to the mission that you have, that you see that mission through.
Yeah, absolutely. And your girls are always so wonderful, and I know your husband is super active in the community, so you're an incredibly important part of what goes on in this community. Maybe tell us a little bit about, I said you were part of the Tourism Business Improvement District. What is that?
The Tourism Business Improvement District, I sometimes have to repeat that 10 times to get it correctly. We are the tourism authority for the city of San Luis Obispo. Some other areas may call it Visit Such and Such, or some may call it a tourism authority, just flat out. But what our role is to market San Luis Obispo, whether that comes through events, whether that comes through sponsorships, whether it comes through just radio spots marketing. It's anything that is going to get the word out about San Luis Obispo to get you to come visit. And how those funds work is that every time every guest stays in a hotel and has a paying room, they are paying a tax and they're paying an assessment fee. And part of that assessment fee is what goes towards our funding to be able to market San Luis Obispo.
So that's pretty interesting, because that means competitors in the hotel industry are getting together for the greater good. And it does seem like that's something that happens a lot here in San Luis Obispo, where even though competitors, the overall good is part of it. Do you find that with your fellow hoteliers?
You know, and it's not just hoteliers, yes, but also with other businesses that were able to cross work together in many different aspects of this community, of the greater region of San Luis Obispo. And this board does bring different backgrounds and time length of time in the career, owners and GMs, we all have a different perspective. We all have a different viewpoint because our input or value in the hotel is different than the next person. So being able to work together is a value to this board and a value to this community because you do have different representations and different segments and different levels of the type of hotels that are being represented. But at the same time, being able to work with the business community as well because folks are coming here and they're coming here to visit the businesses, but they also have a place to stay, or they don't have to, but they're choosing to because of this community and because of how welcoming this community is and embracing you for coming in for whatever your reason may be.
Yeah, and it seems like the hotels have identified that kind of you all serve different clientele, different areas, and overall, there's enough business for everyone. I think we've seen a lot of business recently. You guys have been staying pretty busy, right?
We sure have, and the great thing about that is there literally is something for everybody. And even for yourself as a traveler, you'll have a different need when you are traveling for business versus when you're traveling with your family versus when you just want to be by yourself. There's a different need that will fit any level of what it is that you need your travel to be, and that's here.
Yeah, and you look at the city forming this, and I know the county has different versions, but the, clearly government and other organizations have identified that tourism is a huge part of our economy, of our business sector that we do rely on, right? I mean, you see the jobs produced, the revenue produced, right, coming out of the tourist industry.
Absolutely. And we've had our the second time since the TBID has been formed, our second time that we've reached over $1 million in TOT, which is transient occupancy tax. And when you're paying the taxes on every room night that you stay in a hotel, 10.06 out of that goes to the city. And that's kind of how we can measure our success on how we're doing or our not success if we're not meeting those thresholds. And seeing that for the second time ever, and I think we first started in 2007, 2009 is when we first started the TBID or start tracking, and that's a big feat. Out of 12 months out of the year, there's only 2 times that we've achieved over $1 million, and that is also within this fiscal year. And that says a lot. I think what it also says, especially coming out of the pandemic, the one good part of the pandemic is that a lot of locals realize what we have here, and we don't have to travel too far from our 20-mile radius, 10-mile radius to enjoy.
Well, you think about the region, because the numbers you're quoting, the $1 million month, literally is only in the city of San Luis Obispo. That doesn't even count what's happening in Paso, in Pismo, and all throughout the rest of the county. Really, you look back on pre-COVID, and the numbers were good. We were certainly a vacation destination. But COVID changed that we were found by a bigger group, right? I mean, it looks like those numbers have really jumped up high.
Absolutely, and another benefit out of COVID, we kind of think COVID was just such a downturn and so sad and draggy, but for our market in hospitality, it really was a benefit. And the governor had approved, and I can't give you the exact dollar amount because I don't remember, but he approved a certain amount to go towards tourism, to encourage folks to travel within the state. That's also another part of the success is that the outside communities have found and realized that there is more within the state of California, and specifically here in San Luis Obispo. And folks, families, they found us, and they now see that you don't have to go so far.
And so one of the interesting pieces that I think we'd like to dive into, you talked a little bit about the idea of different types of property. Well, the company you work for has 2 different properties literally within like a mile of each other. How do you see those different, or were they meeting a different market need that needed to be filled so quickly?
So when I said earlier that there are different types of hotels that fits your needs, I have the pleasure of being a direct result and a direct part of that. The two hotels that I have with the Hampton Inn and Suites by Hilton and the Town Place Suites by Marriott, two different flag brand hotels, two different style of hotels, and yes, two different types of clientele. One may think a hotel is a hotel, you're just gonna go for the rate or what it is that you need. But between the two different brands, the Hampton is more designed for, I want something simple, minimalistic. You go to one Hampton, you've been to them all across the country, and it's just more of the color palette that's a little different. It offers breakfast. It offers the standard rooms with either one bed or two beds. Doesn't have a lot of meeting space, but enough for if you're coming in for a small business meeting. The Town Place Suites by Marriott is a extended stay hotel, and it's designed for the person who is looking to stay longer than 5 nights. So it's fully equipped with full kitchens, fridge, microwaves, stovetops, utensils, cooking, dishes, plates, pots and pans, and everything. And they're all studio suites with several one-bedroom suites. And based on you as a person, on what your need is what's going to drive you to one or both properties. Either one, it's not just because the Town Place Suites is targeting that extended stay person doesn't mean you still can't stay for one night. And just because a Hampton Inn is targeting those 1 to 2 to 3 nights doesn't mean you can't stay for a month if you wanted to. But it's really is about the targeting from the brand perspective on how does it they letting you know of what's available to you based on what your needs are.
Well, one of the things that immediately comes to mind to me is that if you're looking for those extended stays, that might be around some business travelers who have to stay for extended amounts of time. I know back in March 2020, all business travel ceased to exist, and it was slow to come back. Are we seeing that uptick? Are people traveling for business again?
They are traveling. It's still slow, and it's certainly slower in this market than what it is in other markets. We are still seeing a lot of leisure travel, a lot of family travel, and whereas during the pandemic, the business traveler did stop. They were still traveling. Since they couldn't go to their office, they were still coming and staying in hotels and doing work out of hotels. They were also staying just to get away because they're tired of being in their house or being in their garage doing their work. Certainly not to the magnitude of what we saw pre-pandemic, and certainly not to the magnitude of now, but there were not as many hotel closures as one would think during the pandemic because hotels were able to be creative and to find ways to, one, stay open and to be able to appeal to what is needed for the different person at that time.
Well, you talked about real quick as folks coming into town. This last weekend was a graduation weekend at Cal Poly SLO, and were we seeing numbers? Because this is the first graduation we've seen maybe in a couple of years of the full group coming in. Were the rooms all booked out? Were we full again?
I haven't seen the full numbers yet. It takes a couple days for everything to come in. From what I understand, this is actually probably one of the slower graduation weekends. And when I say slower, that means the entire city didn't sell out like it did in the past. So slow for us on that weekend is about still 92-93% occupancy. But when we're used to seeing the entire city sell out, my understanding is, just talking to hoteliers, that wasn't really the case this year. I think in most cases, just the different needs, or maybe folks aren't traveling as the big family group as they used to, and it was more just mom and or dad that was just coming up for the celebrations, or folks still weren't comfortable in being in that big of a crowd setting could have potentially been the part. And what's on top of everybody's mind right now is that the gas pump that kind of pumps the brakes just a little bit for some folks.
A great point, because one of the things I was interested in talking about is, the type of person that come. You talked about local staycations. It seems that we have a a lot of our tourism comes from the drive markets, right? We're 3 hours from LA, we're like 3 hours from San Francisco, we're like 3 hours from Fresno. Do we see that being a large part of our tourism population? And do you think gas is having a pretty significant impact on that?
Yes to both. Yes, the dry markets, again, pointing back to the promotion that came out of the pandemic of staying local, staying in California and traveling, but also it's getting high. I just talked to one of my properties this morning that's down in the Palm Desert area. They're in $7 in gas. They're not moving too far from where they are. But interesting enough is that even though the dry markets is really, I guess, so to speak, our bread and butter, our fly markets are just taking off. The amount of more flights that are coming in, the more flight travel that's coming in, the more times. What do you call those? Flight times that are coming in. This weekend we went to the airport for dinner for my niece's birthday, and it's always, we don't have an opportunity to go there very often, but every time we go, it is just so amazing to see the number of flights that are just constantly coming in, and you don't think about it. And if you sit there and you see the flights that are coming in, the flights that are leaving, there are obviously people on those flights. And that is a lot of folks that are staying, whether they some live here, but there are a significant amount that are coming to vacation. There are a significant amount that are coming to stay. The amount of private jets that are coming in and out, those people are staying. Those people are spending a lot of time here.
Well, one of the things that happened that, we were talking about folks find us, whether it was LA, San Francisco, Central Valley, there seemed to be, and this is some of the work that kind of probably came through the work of the Tourism Business Improvement District, Visit SlowCal, our tourism group, is that there are a lot more articles being written about how wonderful slow is. So do you think we're having those things are having impacts as they end up in New York or in Europe? We're seeing a lot of new people coming in from far away.
Absolutely. We have an amazing, absolutely out of this world PR team. They know the right places to touch, and they know the right places to be able to position us. But because they know that, they're able to put us in the right spots that's going to get the right eyes, not just putting us somewhere that's okay, we just have a placement just because we can. So there's a lot of thought and a lot of strategy that's behind how we're being marketed, and I'm not going to say the right folks, but the folks who are going to turn the needle and make that decision to fly here, drive here, rent a plane to come here. They're doing it because of the output that the TBID is putting out there, and other entities and organizations are picking up on what the TBID is doing, and so it's just continuously spreading.
And we really see that from all the way from the California tourism group, the Visit California, Visit SlowCal, our county group, the city group. It's really amazing the incredible work that's going, because it's obviously from a chamber perspective, we're super interested in growing our economy. And that money being spent here is doing that. So one of the main questions, though, that every business is facing is staffing. How is that working for you and our other hoteliers in feeling the strain?
It's tough. It's tough in hospitality, just as it's tough in a restaurant, just as it's tough in any place that you walk in. So I do beg and plead to be kind, no matter where you're going. Somebody showed up today, but it is tough, and it is a struggle in tourism. Expectations are really high with the traveler, and it really is managing. It really is managing not so much the guest expectations, but managing what it is that you know that you are and can produce, even when you're understaffed. A lot of hotels are being creative with their offerings because they don't have the staffing to be able to keep up with the demand. The demand's going to come or go whether you're ready for it or not. And the great leadership in the hotels that we have here know how to be able to manage it in a way so it's not so overwhelming. And it seems like that even though it is a strong labor shortage in this market, hotels have been able to manage it efficiently so that guests can still feel welcome and comfortable and have a pleasant stay while they're here.
And it's really interesting because there are things happening that maybe we took for granted in the past. Having your room turned every day that maybe wasn't necessary, right? Having your towels, like all of that, also has some environmental issues that it's probably saving some pieces for. Are we finding efficiencies in the hotel industry around how we make the programs work with the staff we have and keep those customers happy with their stay?
Absolutely. I can't really speak on every hotel on what their practices are, but I do know that um, some are just as you were just mentioned about not going in every room and cleaning your rooms every day. I believe a lot are doing that. I'm not sure if everybody is doing that. I know some are not doing uh, the towel service only if you absolutely need it, and we'll replace it every couple of days. So that kind of stuff, as we know that we are still in a water drought, water shortage, and so that helps. Um, and when we're talking about the environment, another program that the TBID had recently initiated, and I can't remember our exact month or time frame, is the keys for trees, and that is bringing back. So you're coming here and you're spending the money here, but we're in turn taking that money and invest it back in this community and this environment and planting trees around the community. And whereas we're spending a lot of money in these hotels to keep things working and functioning, we're trying to put that back in the environment with the amount of trees that we're planting. So I don't know the total number of trees that we planted to date, but it's a great program and appreciated by our guests.
Well, and you look at the folks coming and staying at our hotels are not just staying in the hotel, right? They're producing revenue in the hotel side, but then they're going out to our wineries, to our restaurants. Are you finding that COVID helped maybe coalesce some of your other industries to come work with you, or making sure that we are connecting our restaurant industries, our wine industry, our tours around, because everybody saw how valuable that was to our community?
Absolutely. Collaboration has been everything. The amount of businesses that popped up during COVID, I don't want to say popped up in that manner, that we just at the hotel level just did not engage with before the pandemic. We started to engage with during the pandemic, so we knew what was open and what it was that we could be able to recommend for guests to be able to do. And that's just kind of just ballooned and blossomed into beautiful relationships with so many different segments in this community for the betterment of our guests. And a lot of those businesses and organizations have offered for hoteliers to come experience this for yourself, so you know exactly what it is that your guests are going to experience. And pre-COVID, I don't think that was very much of that much of a collaboration as it is right now. So we do work hand in hand, and what most people also don't realize is that restaurants and attractions is hospitality, and we're all kind of lumped in the same category, and just makes sense for us just to work together.
Yeah, and then all of these things generate taxes paid for by people visiting our community, and then those things go to benefit our community. We talked about that. You just mentioned the trees. You mentioned some of these other items. Is really their spending money here has kept our community as beautiful and as wonderful as it is. I want to take a little different turn here, just because you're also our board chair for 2022 for the chamber. Is there a conversation or initiative that you've enjoyed most now that we are halfway through the year, the one you're most excited about?
Oh my gosh, you don't know how excited I am about our SOAR program. Seeing this program that's developed from just a topic of conversation out of business economic council to where it is getting ready to launch. It is such a privilege and an honor to be a part of this, that in turn is going back to help the businesses in this community, and it's going to help attract those qualified, and those that just want to come here. It's probably the most satisfying part of, amongst a lot of things, a lot of satisfying part of being a chair, but seeing something actually take off is absolutely amazing.
Well, I know what the SOAR network is, but maybe you want to share a little bit about what kind of gap we were filling or why that was happening, and maybe the original words where people might know it a little better as.
The trailing spouse program is kind of where the start came from, and what the intent behind it is that as folks are coming and interviewing and looking for jobs or accepting jobs, they're finding that their significant other, their family, their friends, whoever else is coming to travel with them, isn't finding a community, isn't finding job opportunities, and it's been a tough and a struggle to keep people here, but yet get people to want to accept. So the basis of this program is to be able to provide a community for them for wherever their need is. Maybe they just need a sitter. Maybe they need another job. Maybe they need a house. It's whatever it is that your need is. This program is really provided around to help everybody else that's coming with you when you are when you're interviewing or when you've accepted your position here in this area, to help you build immediate community.
Yeah, we sit with a community of 280,000 people in our entire county. And as we were just talking about staffing being such a key issue, sometimes we're going to have to draw, right, talent from other communities. And I know that was something that was brought up when I even came here 3.5 years ago. You weren't originally from San Luis Obispo. Is the social connection a difficult part that you've seen from friends and people coming to the community that you think might have been a major issue impediment to hiring?
Absolutely. It's no secret that the San Luis Obispo community is not very diverse. And when you're looking at diverse populations or folks who are coming in looking for a diverse community, you're not going to find that here. However, being able to show that there are a lot of options, there are communities here that you can involve yourself in and be comfortable in, and know that you're not here alone or by yourself. Their community is important for individual success and for family success, and that's what we want to be a part of. We want our business community to be successful as a chamber.
Yeah, we certainly hope it thrives and brings about new staff and even more efficiencies and production for our community. Well, LeBren, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and really appreciate all that you do for our community on the many levels that you do.
Thank you so much.
We look forward to, hopefully you'll join us next month when we'll be having another conversation about key sectors and industries happening right here on the Central Coast. Thanks.